Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm so excited to see all these new faces. This is great. Happy Saturday. So today our focus is going to be employment, and we're going to talk about how employment is possible for all. So if you want to go to the next slide, Jeff, we have some acknowledgements. So first I want to thank Diversity Ability Incorporated, the Arizona Youth Leadership Forum graduates, who will be introduced later, the Arizona Developmental Disabilities Planning Council for making this workshop happen. And we are so happy to have everyone here to talk about employment. I love talking about employment. So ask a lot of questions. Let's have some fun. Next slide, Jeff. All right. So like I said, employment is possible for all. Welcome to the Adulting Workshop. It's going to be Susan, myself, and then we have a panel of self-advocates here to talk. So Harrison, Micah, and Sally. So let's get ready to go. The first thing we're going to do is a Mentimeter. And on the next slide, you'll see, so what do you think? When you hear the word employment, what do you think? What are some words that come to mind? We want to hear from you straight. So if you can go to menti.com and enter the code 9.
Heather, this question is if they've heard of employment first. Yeah, sorry. It's a little different answers.
So we're not doing, okay.
Yeah, if they've heard of employment first, that's the question. Sorry, not what employment means to you. Yeah. So it's a yes or no question, and so that's all they have, the option in the Mentimeter.
Yep. So
sorry if I confused. Okay.
No, sorry, my slide's different. Sorry, because I was going through Mentimeter, and it was a word cloud. So my apologies.
No worries.
So we have 5. No, I haven't so far, and 1 person has. So take your time, go to www.menti.com and use the code 9672245.
And you can do it on your phones too, if that's easier for you.
I have some people in the chat box who said that they have heard of employment. But we're wondering if you've heard of employment first. We've had 12 responses. Well, Susan, this is exciting. So far, not many people have heard of it, so we get to talk all about employment first.
Great. Is anyone having any problems? And if so, let us know. There's 35 of you on here, so we were hopeful to see a few more answers, but that's okay if not.
It's still ticking up there, so 6 are now saying yes.
Come on, yeses, let's outdo the no's. Just kidding.
Well, be honest.
I know it's not a race or a competition. Although I do love the little people pictures that we've inserted here.
I know, they're great. Oh no, it's now 10 to 6. 10 haven't, 6 have.
Are we okay to move on?
I think so. Do you think you okay, Heather?
Yep. All right. So Susan, I think this is where you.
Okay, I'm so sure. Heather, as you can probably already tell, Heather and I are going to piggyback on some slides, and then the panel of young adults, you'll hear from them just shortly. So those of you who haven't heard, this is the short version of what Employment First is. It's the expectation that anyone of working age in Arizona who has a disability, that we have the expectation that we are helping individuals find and get employment in the community, like Jeff and Susan and Heather and all the rest of a lot of us on here, that we work in the community for an employer. So that's the expectation, that we help people no matter what the disability is and no matter how significant your needs or your barriers might be. Next slide. So the easiest way, and sometimes, is to just show you what the video that was created in the Employment First Initiative. You'll see me in here. I'm not one that loves to be on camera, but I had to add some things in here for the video. But we're going to show this. It's a little bit over 5 minutes, so bear with us. But we're hoping it kind of comprehensively helps you really understand what we're talking about when we're talking about employment first. So Jeff, are you going to show the video? You going to be able to do that, or would you like myself or Heather to do that?
I'm pulling it up right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Heather and I should have mentioned that we both work for the University of Arizona, the SNOR and USED, if you guys didn't know that already. Okay, here we go.
Can you see the video on screen?
Yes.
Okay.
People with disabilities are underrepresented in the workforce. In Arizona, only 35% of working-age people with disabilities have a job. In order to open the doors of employment to more people and to diversify its workforce, Arizona Governor Doug Ducey signed an executive order officially establishing Arizona as an employment-first state.
Employment First is a philosophy. It's a movement intended to redefine how we view and how we support individuals with disabilities. My name is Susan Borrell, and I'm the Program Manager for the Employment First and Transition Initiatives. Employment First in Arizona is a grassroots initiative. We have brought stakeholders together to coalesce around the common issue of low employment rates for individuals who have disabilities. It is the expectation that all services that we provide align with guiding them to competitive integrated employment.
Competitive integrated employment means work performed on a full-time or part-time basis for which an individual is compensated at or above minimum wage, eligible for the level of benefits provided to other employees, at a location where employees interact with other individuals without disabilities, and presented opportunities for advancement similar to other employees.
We had a job that Jacqueline could do, straightening, dusting, and fronting merchandise.
Working hard. Always working hard. I like my job, yes. Of course I am.
She actually takes the time to learn everybody's first and last name. She does that because she cares. She cares about her job. She cares about the people she works with. We're just a big, giant family, and she is a part of that family and always will be.
I don't fuck already. Here we go.
My name is Matthew Wangman. Good afternoon. My name is Matthew Wangman. I work for the Institute for Human Development at NAU. I teach disability studies at the minor. It is my dream job.
My name is Catherine Mahusky. I've been co-teaching with Matthew for almost 10 years. Students get to see Matthew and I work together, as well as get his personal experiences of a person with a significant disability. We talk a lot on this campus about diversity, but disability is still sort of in the background. And I think it needs to be more visible in both the students we recruit as well as the employees and the faculty we recruit.
My name is Carrie Robbie. I've been working here for 2 years. I like coming and doing my job and getting paid. I love making things better for me. It makes me feel proud of myself. The best thing about working here is their 30% discount on meals and free drinks, which I think is awesome. With my money that I make, I like to spend some when I go to the movies. I work out with a bunch of girls that are about my age. A few of them have pretty good jobs like I do. They make everything right in my life.
I have had the pleasure of leading the Employment First initiatives in Arizona with our stakeholders. This allows us to come together to look at our policies that may need to be addressed, to look at our funding structures that may not align to getting people directly into employment. And this has allowed us to bring our employers in to understand accommodations in the workplace, assistive technology in the workplace, unconscious biases, and helping the general workforce understand the world of disabilities.
Good to see you.
Yes, you too.
Keep up the good work.
I am working, yes.
We are more than excited to see individuals like Carrie and Matthew and Jacqueline who have proven that employment is absolutely possible.
I think I'm a very unique employee, but I would just like for everybody to come together to figure out how I can continue working at my job.
Carrie Joe Bobby!
Employment First means that we need to believe that people can go to work, whether they have a significant disability or a minor need. With the right supports and services, the right attitude, the high expectations, it is possible for all. We will increase employment outcomes in Arizona.
I'm good. I'm not scared. Anything. Look, I can do.
Thanks, Jeff. So hopefully, as Jeff's pulling that back up, hopefully that gave you guys a little bit better perspective. We'll go into Employment First a little bit more in the next slide. Once Jeff is able to get that back up here for us. Thank you for watching that. I know it's it was actually a little bit longer than we wanted it to be, but it's okay. We're thankful to highlight some folks in Arizona, and hopefully some people on this call would be willing to be in our next videos and or our success stories. Sally will tell you that we've featured her last month on our Employment First website, and we're always wanting to feature more stories of young people, or people in general. You guys just happen to be young, in our Employment First initiative. So again, I'm not going to go through all of this. This is just very briefly that Employment First is not a program or a service. It is really a messaging, a movement to really help, whether you're a parent, an individual with a disability, an agency, a teacher, that we are absolutely looking at employment as the first option for all people, just like we do for anyone else without a disability. Whether we like it or not, we go to work when we finish high school, or we go to, college or higher ed or vocational, and then we go to work. But we always expect that for everyone else. So our state wants to have the expectation for people who have disabilities as well. Okay, next slide, please. So another way to show the collaboration, as the video explained, we do work with our Voc Rehab administrators, which is the agency that helps people with disabilities find employment, with our Division of Developmental Disabilities. I'm not going to go through all of these, but some people are eligible for what's called the Division of Developmental Disabilities if you happen to have an intellectual or developmental disabilities. Schools, the Department of Ed, our provider agencies, who are the ones that will work with young people after they graduate from high school, employers, and so we're all coming together to relook at things right now, because when policies and laws are written back in the 60s and 70s and 80s, we know that sometimes we have to revisit those and change things if we really want to achieve higher employment rates. Okay, next slide. We wanted to highlight a few of the Employment First principles and practices. This is not a whole list of everything. I'm sure people could add things to this, But in general, if you guys were on any of our prior webinars for this series, you learned about person-centered principles a couple weekends ago. It's really, really important that we think about the person who has the disability being in the middle, and that all of us surround that person and we help and support you. The young people that are on this call, that's our job if you need our support. Not everybody needs people's help. But when you do, that's our job. That's why Susan, Heather, Wendy, Jeff, a lot of us on here, that's why we came into this field. Assistive technology, we always talk about how, whether it's an iPhone, this is just technology that assists you in helping you be successful. It can be at school, it could be at work, it could be in a different environment, at the grocery store, whatever you need your technology for to be successful in life. It's very important that you hold us accountable and work with your teachers and you work with the state agencies I mentioned. If you need something, it is our job to help make sure that you have what you need to be successful in all of those environments I just mentioned, all the settings. I want to highlight supported decision making for those who are on the phone and the parents specifically. Often we are guided or we discuss guardianship or power of attorney and helping our young people make decisions. We are really on a mission to start with supported decision making in this state, meaning that you are there, you or whomever the individual with a disability decides to be there, that helps support them make decisions. That is always the best option, we think, because that's like a team and the person still gets to make their own decisions with support. However, we're aware that some people may need more support in guardianship and power of attorney. We're not saying that you might not need that, but we really encourage you to look at all your options and be informed about those before you go straight to guardianship. There's entire presentations that Raising Special Kids, our parent training and information center, does on guardianship and supported decision making and legal options. High expectations, we're going to go into that in much more depth. So I'll let you go ahead, Jeff, and go to the next slide. I'm trying to go through these a little quicker, but I don't want to speak too fast because I get in trouble with interpreters, which is absolutely okay because I can talk really fast. So high expectations could be one of the barriers that we see. We're not blaming parents, but we can often see parents, educators, people like myself, all of us. If we don't have the expectations that people can go to work that have disabilities, then they probably won't go to work. I tell people all the time, the things that I have 6 siblings, and the things the 7 of us have done, a lot of it was based foundationally in what my father and my mother expected of us. Almost 100%. And so we really want you to walk away thinking when you leave this session, yes, my kiddo, my young person can work and we're going to figure this out. And it may look like a different path. It might not be 40 hours a week. And there could be all kinds of different things that it looks like than a typical person working 40 hours a week. However, it is possible. If you have the expectation, you are much likely to have better outcomes, and that is what our research shows us. Some of the soft skills that we mention here about integrating these skills into academics and other settings, things like teamwork and dependability. Soft skills means that you're able to, if you're working a job and you need to take some time off, that you need to pick up the phone and call your employer, that you can, do some of those things that we expect, whether it's shaking hands. I know in COVID, the pandemic, it's a little different right now, but typically you would thank people and shake hands when you're interacting, and being able to problem solve. These are things that almost seem a little abstract from time to time, but having good communication skills, whatever that looks like for you. It doesn't mean you have to speak like myself. You may use a device. But those are some examples of soft skills that are like really, really important to make sure that your young person and the young people on the phone today on the webinar, that you are making sure that you're working towards these things. This is just some examples. But these are the qualities that a lot of employers are looking for in anybody that's looking for a job. Okay, next slide. As I just mentioned, I mean, the reason I'm speaking so much about high expectations today is because, as I said, there's a lot of research that shows that our outcomes are much more, are better, and we have more success when people have high expectations across a person's life. It doesn't just mean a parent's expectations. As you can see, expectations can encourage growth and help maximize your potential, like being able to do, you know, to the best of your ability is what that means. And why, as we write here, because again, a lot of people have put a lot of time in asking, you know, young people, and that's what research means. And high expectations lead to positive transition outcomes. So what we've seen, and I'm just going to go briefly, but what we've seen is when people in high school, young people in high school, when they set goals and when parents have expectations and when parents are involved in the schooling, when kids are in general education and have paid employment or some sort of experience in employment. I could go on and on. There's 16 predictors that say that if you do these things in high school, your young people are much more likely to be successful in employment, in higher education, in training, as well as in independent living. Next slide. I think the next one is this one is a very short video that I think is really important for all of our audiences to see. We've been showing it a lot lately. It's very quick, but thank you, Jeff, for showing this very quickly.
I have a quote from a good colleague of mine, Nicole LeBlanc, and she says, "Unfortunately, many people with disabilities grow up in the shadows of low expectation syndrome. Our hopes and dreams can be stripped away by doctors, teachers, parents, and providers who have preconceived notions about what we are capable of doing."
Let your job coach know what your dream is and what your dream job is.
Presume competence. And what we mean by presuming competence is when you meet a person with a disability, assume they are capable. You know, don't assume that someone can or can't do things, but, you know, make sure that they tell you what they need for accommodations and then give them the chance to be in the driver's seat.
Okay, so thank you, Jeff, for showing that. Okay, so the last slide I'm going to talk about before we get to the panel is that we just have to start shifting our thinking. Often on the left side of the screen, we talk about people not being ready for jobs or they're too disabled to work, and we're afraid that something might happen, bad might happen, and so we really we don't want them to go into employment because we might be scared or fearful. And so this slide is just to help us start thinking a little different. And it's our job as people with or without disabilities that work in this community to help people with the supports that can make it happen. So we're not people, as Snorin, you said, who think people need to be job ready. We believe that what can we do to help you make that happen? If you need support from community folks and agencies, you know, what is it that we can make possible for you? Looking at failure as creating opportunities. We all fail from time to time, and just being there to pick people back up and to help them grow and learn from mistakes and just keep on going. And then the Too Disabled to Work, you know, we really believe in the Employment First initiative across the nation that everyone has a place to work, and that we are doing our best to figure out how we can make that happen for all people with all disabilities. So the next slide, we're gonna shift over to the panel, which is what we really wanna get to today. So we have 3 young people, if you could go to the next slide, and I'll let them each introduce themselves. I apologize. Micah is going to come on now, and Micah's going to talk to you guys a little bit about where these guys came from and who they worked with to get to where they are. and then we'll start getting into some questions after they introduce themselves. So Micah, you're on.
Thanks, Susan. So I want to introduce you guys to Diversibility Incorporated. Diversibility Incorporated is the nonprofit that brings you guys Arizona Youth Leadership Initiatives, primarily Arizona's Youth Leadership Forum. And Arizona Youth Leadership Forum is the summer program that both me, Harrison, and Sally are graduates of. AZYLF, which is our acronym for the Youth Leadership Forum, is a 5-day summer conference aimed at providing leadership skills, knowledge of and access to resources, and practice in goal setting and person-centered planning for young people with disabilities. And as you can see, many of us have gone on to be involved in a variety of other activities, boards, committees, and organizations.
Next slide, please, Jeff. So Harrison, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us where you work real quick?
Sure, I suppose so. So I'm Harrison Verma. As Micah explained, a graduate of Arizona Youth Leadership Forum and now involved with Arizona Youth Leadership Initiatives. But my main place of work right now is Desert Dime Casinos. I'm a table games dealer, and I've been there for technically close to 6 months now, but considering the current situation we're in, it's been more accurately 2 or 3.
Thank you. Sally.
Hi, my name is Sally Whalen. I'm the co-chair of the Executive Alum Board with Arizona Youth Leadership Forum. And right now I am currently employed at a prized food market. And what I do there, I used to be part of their little kids corner area, but due to COVID that shut down. So now I am just a carry-out / greeter / cart wiper. So I deal with the general public. And yeah, and I've been working at Fry's for over 3 years now. And I got my job through Voc Rehab, and I had a job coach, and then he assisted me on the correct way of like presenting a cover letter, resume, and then I got the job and I've stuck with it ever since. Oh, and also I got a letter. I worked with Heather and Susan and got a letter written about me, and that's really cool. And like, so I'm currently getting off of that and like sharing my success story with like friends and family, and it's just been a really great time.
Awesome.
Excellent.
And
Micah.
My name is Micah Stewart. I am a board member of Diversibility Incorporated. I sit as the secretary, and I also do some part-time work for them as the organizational systems specialist, where I help find technology solutions, teach curriculums, and give other sorts of presentations for us. I'm also a full-time student at ASU and studying computer information systems. And I've been involved in this disability advocacy field for almost 6 years now. And I don't think Harrison mentioned it earlier, but he is also a member of Arizona Youth Leadership Initiative's Alumni Association with Sally.
Yes, that's right.
Thank you. So we're going to ask the panel a few questions, and then you guys can absolutely, we may have time to ask some questions of your own, but we were going to have, and not each one is going to answer each question, but I think Sally already talked a little bit about her job, but if you, Harrison, Sally, and Micah, tell us what your favorite and least thing is about your job. And you can be very quick, brief. It doesn't have to be real lengthy. So Harrison.
Sure. So just a quick overview for those of you who don't know, a table games dealer is the person in a casino who, gives out the cards and stuff. The biggest, I think, hurdle for particularly many individuals with disabilities working in a casino is there's a lot of light, a lot of noise, and a lot of very unhappy people when they lose money. I think my favorite aspect is at the end of the day, it is still playing games with people for a job, which is quite enjoyable. And even if it's, depending on what your views are on casinos, everyone's entitled to their own, but the money does go towards the tribe. So I think that's quite beneficial. And my least favorite part probably would have to be dealing with unhappy customers, but I think that's the same for just about any job.
Thank you. Callie, did you want to offer your favorite and least favorite?
Yeah, so my favorite part of my job is interacting with the customers and understanding like what they've done in the day and like going through like, oh, how are you doing, and like having that social, and then them coming back and being like, oh, you're still working here, you're my favorite carry out here, or you're so generous here, and like just getting compliments from the general public. My least favorite thing is probably communicating to managers about like my availability, because since my disability isn't very prominent, it's kind of hard to notice it. And so it took me a while to be like, hey, I need to state my grounds, or else someone can like easily just like maneuver it over me. So I think that's just a little hard, but it comes with trial and error.
Excellent. Micah, I don't think you were going to answer this one, correct? Or did you want to add anything?
No, I think I'll take a pass on this one.
Okay. Next slide, Heather.
All right. So, what is work? Why is work and getting a job important to you? So Sally, Micah, Harrison, why is it important to get a job?
I think it's very important to show that you're independent from your parents and you're able to either earn or volunteer and possibly get money from a separate income. And also, I just feel like you can, when you get a job, you get these skills and you're able to use those in daily lives, and it teaches you, hey, you're a member of society and you're able to communicate just as well as anyone else. And I feel like it shows people that it normalizes people with disabilities can work, can do anything they put their mind to. So I think it's so important, especially to me. I just really wanted to be like independent and being able to be like, hey, I'm able to do this, just wait and like let me figure it out and I can do it.
Yeah, that's great. Micah, do you want to talk a little bit about why it's important?
Yeah, I'll jump on to what Sally said. You know, for most of us, I think having a job represents independence, and having the financial power that comes with having an income. On a personal level, a lot of my goals in life have revolved around becoming more independent. I want to move out of state at some point, own my own home, have a job, family, etc. And working and having a job is one of the most important stepping stones to many of those goals that I have. And in a more general sense, I think that, having a job is something that we put a lot of importance on in society. Like when you meet someone for the first time, one of the first things you're likely to ask them is, so what do you do for a living? And not being able to answer that kind of question when it comes up feels really weird, and not in a good way. We put a lot of importance on we build our identity oftentimes around our jobs. So in many ways, having a job and an income is important, I think, for people to build their identities.
Yeah, that's great. Harrison, were you going to jump in on this one, or are we going to move to the next question?
Sure, I've just got a couple of things that I think might be useful to add. So obviously what Micah and Sally mentioned about the money and the independence aspect, that's very important. But as well, I think it's important to be able to have a different type of interaction with people than exclusively friends. It helps to build healthy relationships and understand people a bit better. And as well as that, it's like Micah said, it can be a large part of your identity, even if you don't think very much about it, or even if you don't work for very much time in a week. It's still most times a very significant portion of your time taken up by this job. So it can certainly impact your life in multiple ways.
Exactly. Very good. All right, so let's move on to question 3.
Okay, so I know you're all 3 in different little, and everybody has their own path as we talked about, but can you guys, just 1 to 3 things if you want that helped you prepare for work? Sally, how about you go first? Oh, Micah.
Never mind.
Perfect. Sorry. No, you can go, Micah.
All right,
knew it
thanks.
was going to go this way. Go ahead. Yeah.
I'd say one of the things that has helped me most is getting an early start. When I think, I remember back to being a kid, and my parents would have garage sales occasionally, and I would come out there with my little folding table and set up my own booth and interact with shoppers and handle money and stuff. And I think that, starting early, even in very small ways, like if you're at the store with your parents, going up to the register and having that interaction yourself, or, taking some other opportunity like I described, can go a long ways towards preparing people, making them more comfortable, and helping people develop some of the soft skills that you use in work early on. And this is something that as parents in the audience, you can help your children do, and young people in the audience, you can seek out opportunities to do. I think that's the biggest thing. All right, I'll pass that back to Sally now.
Thank you.
Yeah, so kind of what Micah said, like using those soft skills, but also what really helped me prepare for work was doing my research and getting connected with Voc Rehabilitation Center at my high school, and they were like, okay, what do you not want to do? And then kind of like whittle it down and be like, okay, you're able to do X, Y, and Z. And then just putting yourself out there, because I was very anxious at first to put myself out there. And as soon as I sent that first resume, I felt like a relief. And I was like, I'm able to do that. And it's nice to have that. And also really understanding what you're talking about, including understanding yourself and understanding your accommodations, and really expressing that you want to be part of the team, but you also need help every once in a while, or you need something a little bit extra. And that's so important in understanding the rights you have and understanding that employment is, like we've been saying all this time, for everyone.
Thank you, Sally. Harrison, did you want to add anything there?
Sure, just briefly. Another thing that helped me in particular, I still don't know exactly what I want to do for a career and for more of a lifetime job, but I think it's important, if you're able to, while you're still young, to at least get a little bit of experience with it, however you can. Even if you don't necessarily stick with it, it's good to see what works and what doesn't work and what you like and don't like about certain jobs.
Excellent. Thank you, all three. Okay. We're going to go to the next.
All right.
A lot of
So
questions on this one. Sorry. Go ahead.
We kind of talked about a little bit about how you prepared for your job, but we know there's a lot of anxiety about starting your job, and it's even harder to keep a job once you get your job. So when you started your job, how did you learn your new job? Did anyone support you? And then we go into the follow-up question of, did you work with a job coach? And if so, what was your experience? Was it helpful? And how did you succeed at your job? So I don't know who wants to start. Sally, Micah, Harrison.
So I'll start. So I started my job about three years ago, and I learned about it by going to local grocery stores and being like, hey, I think I can become a bagger. And I decided to look into it, and I was interviewing, and then the person who was interviewing me was like, no, you'd be better in this situation, and brought me to Kids Corner. And she knew my experience from Special Olympics and stuff, and being exposed to kids with multiple disabilities. And then she found that like edge, and I was able to continue it until now. And now I just interact with the public in Fry's. And my parents really supported me, because when I graduated from high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do exactly. So my mom sat me down and was like, look, all these places are hiring. Start small and then work your way up. And that was really easy for me to understand and be like, working is scary, but it's the best. It's a great thing to have like that gratitude and be like, oh, I've done this to help the community. And like I mentioned before, I did work with a job coach, and that was through my voc rehabilitation class in high school, and he really helped me. He helped me with transportation because I can't drive, so he was able to bring me to where the trainings were. He was able to help me go on site to the job and like kind of observe what they did in Kids Corner, what they did at Fry's, and kind of just analyze the situation. And then he stuck around for about 2 to 3 weeks and was like, okay, you're good at this, but you need improvements on this. How can I help you? And then he really was just there to check to make sure I felt comfortable with the coworkers there, felt comfortable with the environment there, and that I wasn't overworked. And still to this day, he still emails me on my work email, and he's like, how is everything? Are you still there? Are you still successful? Because every time he's successful, that makes their company look good, and it makes everyone happy that like, hey, this person succeeded with an assistant from someone who wasn't mom or dad. And so I always say that's an awesome opportunity, and if you're approached with it, take it, because it's really great just to see it and see how the process works and how they break everything down. And it made it a lot easier and less intimidating for me personally.
That's great. Yeah. Thank you, Sally. Harrison,
I think Harrison.
Sorry, Harrison.
I don't have an awful lot to say on the subject. For this job in particular, there was actually a training course, so that was quite helpful. But as for finding the job and all that sort of thing, a lot of it is down to people you know, and even if they don't necessarily offer you job opportunities or anything else like that, have a look at what sort of places they work in, or ask them for ideas of where you might fit in well. For example, I never thought I would be working in a casino, but here I am already. So yeah, it's just it's important to be open to ideas like that.
Micah, did you want to add anything? I don't think that you were going to.
No, I think they've covered it well.
Great. So thank you, Micah. So this question kind of aligns. I don't know if any of you want to add, or if any of you have accommodations that you wanted to share at your job. Sally might have alluded to a few of those. And if yes, how did you go about it? So accommodations, just anything that you might have needed to make your employer aware that to help you be more successful on your job.
So a lot of my accommodations, I'm very fatigued, and one of the things is getting carts all the time, every 15 minutes. And I had to tell them, hey, I needed to do it like every 30 minutes, or like have a tiny limit on that, because I knew I couldn't push myself. But approaching it with managers are the key like step, and also being honest and being like, hey, I have a disability. Here's what I can do. Here's what I know I may not be able to do, but you can train me and see if there's a possible way I can do it with assistance or with a little bit extra hand. And I kind of just approached it in a very professional way. And I was like, I need help and I want to work, but I want to make sure I'm not pushing myself too much, and making sure you guys are on the same pages about hours as well. Like being like, hey, I'm part-time. I can't go over these hours, even if it seems like, oh, you can pick up these shifts, but it's like, you have to know your limits and understanding that they are a company and they're there to help you and not like hurt you. And so that kind of really helped me with the accommodations and being more and more comfortable. Like I got comfortable with a manager that I always go to, and she always helps me understand like, okay, let's figure this out. And it's been really helpful in that way.
Excellent. Thank you, Sally. I'm not sure, Harrison and Micah, did you want to, anything else here?
Yeah, I can speak to this a little bit. So I don't think I've mentioned this. My job is, for the most part, remote. I work from home in this office that you're seeing behind me on the computer that I'm on right now. And my job is something that gives me a very flexible schedule. Now, aside from specific events or times when, you know, I have a planned workshop or something, I can determine my own schedule, which for me is something that's very helpful. I haven't asked for accommodations in my job, but I have sought out a job that works with my needs in a way that I don't have to ask for accommodations. And I guess that's just another example that I wanted to give you guys of how you can, you know, find a job that works with your needs, whether that be modifying, you know, a job or asking for accommodations, or finding a job that works with your needs rather than against them.
Excellent. Thank you, Micah. Harrison, I'll give you an opportunity if you want to add anything here. And if not, that's okay.
Sure. I just want to add as well that accommodations aren't necessarily exclusively disability related. They often help significantly with disability related problems in the workplace. But as well, if you've got something going on in your life, don't be afraid to speak to your manager or supervisor or whoever you need to speak to, and see if you can come to some agreement with what needs to happen, whether you're in college and can't work that many hours or whatever else.
Thanks, Harrison. That's a good point. I think a lot of us do have to go to our employers at different times and ask for things that we need, no matter what, because lots of things come our way. And that's a good point to make and wrap this up, that, you know, accommodations are often free or very inexpensive. And just sometimes it's a very minor thing that someone might need to make them successful. So thank you so much to the panel. We're going to give them the last slide for the panel at the moment is to what advice, so there's quite a few young youth and young adults and students on today, as well as their family members. And any advice that you have for these young people about how to get and keep a job. I think you guys did a great job of integrating that throughout your answers, but any like last, summary of that advice you would give to young people? Because I know these three have worked very much with AZYLF, and they would tell you, I think, a lot of what some of their confidence and learning and self-determination came from some of the things that they did there. And so anything you want to offer to help people feel confident in doing these things, getting jobs. Micah, yeah, you can go first.
Yeah, so I think one of the most important things you can do to help yourself get and keep a job is practice your soft skills. Those are things like communication, professionalism, conflict resolution if you have an unhappy customer. But what I personally think is one of the most important soft skills you can learn is networking. Most people in the world find their jobs, not just through, job ads on Indeed or by walking into their local store and asking for an application, but by knowing someone who can tell them where they can apply and where there's an opening. To a large degree, places like VR are fantastic at this because, well, that's their job, But I think it's important not to overlook other opportunities, asking your family members, hey, do you know what places are hiring? Or asking, a friend or a teacher, a counselor, hey, if I wanted to learn more about, going into welding or medicine or any other job, do you know where I could get a certification for that or learn more about this job? And that kind of networking is your way to get that information. So I think the more people you talk to and get to know and then stay in touch with, because that's important, the better off you'll be when it comes to looking for jobs.
Thank you, Micah. Sally.
Yeah, so like what Micah said, like practicing those soft skills and really getting your network is such a huge thing. And that's kind of what we address at Arizona Youth Leadership Forum, like being like, you're your own little cheerleader in a sense, and being like, the best way to promote yourself is to believe in yourself and be like, hey, this is what I do, and connecting. Like just this past month, getting connected, myself, getting connected with Susan and Heather, and having those connections with people in Tucson, all across Arizona. And that's important as well. But how to really keep your job is being, like I said throughout this whole panel, being honest and being straightforward and being like, this is what I can do, this is what I can't do, and these are what I need to follow, my guidelines, my way of life. And it looks different for everyone. And I always say, give it, try it for a month, and if it's not working, then look for something different. But don't give up just because of one bad day or one bad customer or one bad experience, because in the working environment, there's stuff like constructive criticism, and that's okay to receive and to also give in that way. And it's always nice to have someone to guide you, whether it be a coworker, a supervisor, or a manager, but someone who's just always there for you, who you can count on and be like, hey, something's not right. And they'll be like, I can help you fix this or help you understand it. And having the motivation to be able to speak up or to be able to be be the best employee you can be is really important, especially I think for anyone, disabled or not, but even for young adults and adults, I think it's a good skill to learn and to understand how to be like your best you.
Awesome. Thank you, Sally. And Harrison, what advice would you give to the young people on?
I think my biggest piece of advice would probably be to, I touched on this briefly before, but to try as much as you can, and just test the waters as much as you can. And even if it doesn't work out, maybe you'll form a relationship with someone at that workplace and they'll know someone who knows someone, and that can lead to some more networking, as Micah and Sally touched on. Or maybe you'll get lucky and happen to find the right job. But you don't know until you try. So I think that's a very important piece not to forget, even if it's difficult sometimes.
Awesome.
Can I jump in and add one more piece of advice?
Yes, please.
I would also say, learn and utilize the resources that are available to you. I think more often than not, we might know one or two, of these support organizations, but oftentimes there are, there's a lot of support out there that either we didn't know about or forgot about, or maybe overlooked because we didn't know, how to best use that support. So, just looking back on like the list of partners, that we had a couple slides back, in that list are at least, a half dozen organizations whose, purpose it is to support people like us and can be a resource for you. So whether that resource for you is VR, AZYLF, or Ability 360, or what have you, like have a couple of those in your life and make sure to use them regularly.
Thank you so much, Micah. Jeff, you can go to the next slide, but before we get into the activity, and we'll do as many activities, we have two, but we'll do what we can until 11:30, but we're going to take a minute to answer questions. So first of all, I'd like to address some that are in the chat box. The young person that's on the iPhone, I don't know who you are, what your name is, but I would encourage you to hear what Micah just said, and at the end we talk about these resources and we can absolutely get you connected. But vocational rehabilitation is probably your best start. They are the state agency that helps individuals, no matter what the disability is, to help them engage in and get employment if that's your route. And so that is a very good resource to start with, because I think you mentioned that you weren't working and you're looking for a job. There were some other comments about expectations and I think being unrealistic and those types of things. I want to be really clear in what we're saying here. The Employment First mission in Arizona, we actually never used the word expectation that everyone get a job. However, it was our stakeholders, people who have disabilities and significant disabilities, they're the ones that wanted that word in there because they really felt that gives it the most power, is if we expect it, then maybe it would happen more often. So I don't want to mislead folks. We are completely aware and work with people that are medically fragile, that have significant needs, whether they're getting nursing, services or being, full care. And we really do believe that employment's possible for all who want it. And I guess I should have added that. We're not here to tell people they have to go to work. No one is forced to go into a job. However, we just know all the benefits that come when people get jobs. You heard it from the panel. We're only in a short time today. Just want you guys to really understand that yes, it's an expectation, but if it's not what the route that someone decides to go down, whether you have a disability or not, or it's not the outcome you get, that's the reality of life. But I want it to be known that the resources that we talk about, that our state and federal dollars fund, They are there for you. And if you are not getting what you need to take it to the next level, and you need to hold us accountable. And I'm very strong in this message because supported employment and the dollars that federal and state have to support people in employment, supported employment, to help them be successful. And again, whatever that looks like for them, 1 hour a day, 20 hours a week, that is what it's for if you choose that route. We're very aware that there's services that an individual who has a disability can receive and may or may not go to employment. Some of the comments made it feel like we have to go get a job. And I apologize if that was the messaging that you heard in the perception. But in the end, if you have a choice and it's a choice that you make with your young person and your family, and employment is not your choice, those are your decisions in your family that you make. But please leave here knowing that whether it's DDD or what Micah said, Youth Leadership Forum, our independent living centers, our Voc Rehab Agency, we are tasked and we are paid to help support people who have disabilities. You need to let us know if you're not getting that, and we will absolutely help you. Not here to judge anyone's path, and just want to make sure that we're all clear on that. So I hope that helped clear up some of those comments. And now, does anyone else have any questions right now? I see Jeff, I don't know if there's any other questions I need to address in the chat box right now. If anyone wants to go off on mute and ask Heather or I or anyone else that's on from the SORNE had any questions, we'd be happy to answer before we go into our activities.
I don't see anything in the chat box. Please, if you do have any questions. Oh, Danielle sent me a private chat. Will this help me in getting a job with animals?
With animals? Danielle, what I would suggest is the people that are around you, whether it's your mom and dad or your teacher, I'm not sure how old you are, or if you happen to be working with anybody in an agency, and if not, when you see the resources at the end, we encourage you to start asking people to help you explore the field of working with animals, because we feel strongly, and a lot of us would agree, that the only way, and you heard it from the young folks, that the only way you're really going to know if you like it is if you try it. Now, trying it doesn't mean you have to go get a job and get paid for it. It could mean that you do some volunteering. It could mean a part-time job, but all of us probably have all kinds of examples we could give you that we worked in jobs that was like, no way. And just as Sally said, given it a little time, just in case, if you run into one thing, you don't want that to be the reason that you move on to another career. But we also change careers and jobs, that's important to note as well throughout our lifetime. And so hopefully the people that support you will be able to help you kind of explore that field. So start asking your support system to help you.
We also have Anna who asked, how does one enroll in the Youth Leadership Forum? Maybe Micah or Sally or Harrison want to answer Anna's question.
Yeah, so the Arizona Youth Leadership Forum, we just recently wrapped up 2020. If you go to ArizonaYouthLeadershipForum.org or azylive.org, you can look at all the stuff that we have done, and also sign up for our email stuff where you get thank you, Jeff. You can get updates on our social events and everything that we do. We try and connect, and we try and do outreaches, and we also do stuff with Youth 360, and we host classes which approach on those soft skills like Micah has mentioned before, and we do a conference every summer, and we invite young adults ages 14 through 30, and we educate them on how to be independent and how to advocate for themselves for someone who has disabilities. And then we teach on the best way for mind, the best way for spirit, and we have all these different things. And yeah, it opens every spring. So near March, applications come in, and then you're able to come and do the conference, and then after the conference, you can be elected onto the board and you can serve in positions like Micah, Harrison, and I have served in. So yeah.
Thank you, Sally. That was a beautiful description of AZYLF.
And it's just
I have seen some of, oh yeah, go ahead.
And it's just really cool to be a part of, so.
Well, and I want to add, because I've been helping support this effort as well, and on the board, and I also try to, even before then, I would try to get more and more young people involved early on when they first started. And often we would have parents and teachers say, oh, my kiddo can't do that, they're not independent enough, or they can't be a leader. And we just really encourage you to think a little differently. AZYLF will support the individual even if they need one-on-one support. They will support with transportation and getting to the forums. It's really just a chunk of time in the summer, but they comprehensively look at all disabilities. And I know that Sally and Micah and Harrison would tell you that there are people with significant disabilities that have joined this and get their voice. And when I say get their voice, it could be through their device, it could be through their words, but I have had tears at every graduation watching young people grow in such a short time with that confidence of embracing their disability and feeling confident about expressing their needs based on what they may or may not need. Again, not everybody needs help. So it's an awesome, awesome opportunity for young people. It's coming to an end, or it did come to an end, I believe. So we can get you guys information when the next one, we'll have this listserv, and we can make sure when the applications come out for next year that all these you parents and young people can get that and make that choice if you'd like to.
Just
so with
one
that,
more question, Susan. Just
yeah,
one more question.
please.
It's about transportation, and what if somebody doesn't drive or doesn't have a permit to drive? What about transportation and how that would fit for getting a job?
So transportation is, does somebody else want to talk about it?
No, go ahead.
Oh, Sally, no, please jump in. I would love you to.
That hits big with me because I struggle with, not struggle, but I have transportation issues. And usually what I do, I find someone, either it be my parents, significant other, or brother, who's able, like I line up the week and I'm like, okay, who's bringing me when? And I make sure that I have the schedule like out in front of them and make sure it's accountable for them. But also I communicate that, hey, during, let's say 5 p.m., can you just bring me 10 minutes away from work? And I really made sure that my work was close by, so I wasn't having someone driving me 40 minutes every day or every 2 days. And that's one thing that I really kind of focused on, and I made sure that it was accountable for me, but also accountable for the person that's assisting me. And also I've used transportation apps such as Uber, but it's all up to comfortability if you're willing to do that, or if you have the money to do that. But usually I just look around at the community and I see what options there are. And before COVID hit, like my area in Peoria had like a little pogo bus, and it took, like it went in the mile radius up here. So it was able to take me to work. But now like I said, mainly it's just family members or people who are willing to offer me a ride, including coworkers, once I get to that comfortability with them.
Awesome. And I would just add, that was great, really. And I would add that we hear this a lot. It is a barrier, even in the big city. I happen to live in Phoenix, but a lot of people are from all over the state here today. And I know it's different in every area, but we talk about getting creative. And as Sally said, sometimes, you know, a neighbor is going to the same vicinity and will be willing to pick up and drop someone off and just carpool. Voc Rehab will help people learn transportation. We call it mobility training. They will help them learn how to ride the bus. Sometimes it's all individualized, so please don't walk away thinking you're going to get everything VR does is based on your needs and what they agree together to do. Sometimes they'll help people go through driving school if they really want to get their driver's license, but there's disability-related reasons that they need that support. We have the Valley Metro, at least in Maricopa County, they offer training on how to ride the bus as well for people who have disabilities and young people in general. Uber, as we talked about, being really trying to get creative. It is a barrier and we get it. And sometimes we just have to really, ultimately I tell families and other people, go work with your transportation departments in your cities too, because they're all a little different, and helping them understand when things are not, like even in Phoenix, we don't have a great transportation system, unfortunately. Our bus system does not run 24 hours, our light rail does not. And so we always have to try to get creative. Because of time, I don't know, we should probably, we're going to try to do one activity because we only have 10 minutes left. So we won't do both, but I think the first activity might be the easier one to do with you guys. So Jeff or JC, can you guys help us? Like they have this page in front of them, correct?
Yes, and then I'll also post a link to this work page in the chat box.
Okay, thank you. Because if you don't have the whole roadmap, and the next slide has what we're gonna. It's just a really quickly. We're not going to take a whole lot of time just because we're running out of time, and that's okay because the questions is really what we want to engage in, because that's important that we help you guys. So the next slide will give you a visual of what we're going to talk about. And so if each of you have it in front of you, or you just have it in front of your screen, just kind of, this is just one single worksheet, meaning there are so many of these out there. This happens to be our roadmap that we've worked with our planning council to create, and Lynn Tomas, who's on as well, and several you said. But this particular, it helps to start the conversation. So you guys can take a few minutes and try to start checking and just thinking about what you like. It could change, doesn't have to be what you like in 2 weeks, or once you get to that environment, you might realize, like, I thought I liked to work with people, but quite frankly, I'd rather work by myself. So
yeah, it's kind of like what Micah was saying with trial and error. You might think you like something, and then you go and you experience it and you realize, oh, that's not for me. But this is a good starting point to know what you like and what you don't like, and kind of build on that when you're thinking about jobs and careers.
So while you guys are kind of thinking about that, we just want you to know, yeah, like Heather said, this is just a good starter. We have lots and lots of resources that help people kind of get started. And when I say that, we really are talking about young. You could be sitting, if you're a parent, we would love for you, some people would say as soon as they're born, pre-K, the expectations being there, and then working through with your young person. We know that in education, you don't technically have to start addressing kind of employment areas until the young person, before they turn 16. But everyone in our field, and including people with disabilities, think that we should be addressing it earlier. And so we encourage you to start having these conversations as early as you feel is appropriate with your young child. And the youth on here, just start thinking about it, because it's almost like your pros and cons list, like, I think I like this, I think I don't like this. And you just start weighing things out. This will really help you figure out what kind of environment, as well as job, geographically, like you may need to move to Flagstaff if you want to be, because there's certain jobs, in our northern region that are more applicable up there, a lot of the agricultural and outdoorsy stuff, but it'll help you kind of start honing in, thinking about what you want to do and what you dream about doing. And you could do this like every year, and it's probably going to change. And parents, we encourage you to, if you want, side by side, if you know your kids best, right? So you could do it and see if they compare and say, oh gosh, my check marks are very different than yours. Sometimes we see that, and that's okay too, especially and with teachers. Sometimes they think people, or they have different things that they see in a young person or observe. It's like, yeah, you can do this really well, but the young person might not feel that way. Does anyone want to share? Awesome. Is there anybody willing to want to talk anything about or share what they might have just literally seeing the words on the paper? Did it make you think a little differently about who you are and what you might want to do? And if you're too nervous, that's okay. And I'll ask Micah, Harrison, and Sally very quickly. Did you guys? Oh, it's almost 11:30. Maybe not. I was just going to say, if you guys did any of this, it sounds like with all the panel, you kind of naturally did some of these things too through your experiences.
I mean, I filled out this worksheet myself right now. I think these are great.
Awesome.
Even if it's just to check in with, if you have a job and you're just checking in, is this the kind of job that I like?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think a lot of these worksheets really help just get the planning process, and kind of like Harrison and I have stated, we didn't know what we wanted to do, but we knew, okay, this job won't work, and this way it kind of narrows it down more, so it's not as intimidating.
Exactly. It's a big world out there. There's a lot of opportunity. So Jeff, just quickly, we can show them the next activity just quickly. We just want you to know, and in our slides you could see there's multiple pages of different things of how to get started. This is another one. You can, what I'm good at, what I think, what I like to do, what makes me happy. Really important to be happy in your job and have some passion. Might not be your first job. I worked at a pizza place, and I did those things. I babysat and did things like that before I got my career. And the last slide that we have really on expectations, and this is out of Eric Carter, which he's researched a lot on expectations. And I just want you guys to take a minute to read this. As I said early on, parents, you really do have a lot of influence. Of course, right? They're your kids and they live with you day and night. So we just want you to know that it's really not a lot of the things that we do and where people land. That's what this is saying. It's really about where you foundationally, when you're working with your young people, foundationally, believing in them. And we often tell people, try to parallel, if you have children with disabilities and without, try to the extent possible to have some parallels. Have them doing similar. It might look a little different, but have those expectations for both your children with and without disabilities. And I kind of, with research shows you will see different outcomes if you hold us accountable and you have the high expectations. So I know that this PowerPoint is going to be, you guys are going to have to help me where this is or where because the next couple slides are the resources that we've talked about. Oh, we're going to do a Menti.
We can have
at the end. Yeah. Okay, we can do this real quick. I just wanted you guys to know that any resource we talked about is in our last few slides. We might not have time for that, but Heather, yeah, let's do our last Menti. Sorry, thank you.
Yeah, so let's do our last little poll here. Go to use your phone, your tablet, your computer, www.menti.com, and use the code 9672245. And we're going to do a word cloud this time. So type in a word talking about what does employment mean to you. So right now, if you can see the screen, we have money as the first person, and money is employment.
I love it.
You can type in 1 to 3 words. Independence.
Do you guys need to put the number in the chat box? I don't know if everybody.
Purpose.
I can't.
Oh, we're getting some more. Awesome. I love this. Independence is still the biggest. Get a paycheck. Working together. Opportunity. Independence is still strong. So the bigger words means more people are putting that word in the word cloud. So a lot of people are saying independence. And we have Danielle who commented that money means to me is saving and not spending.
I think we could all agree with you, Danielle.
Yeah. And purpose, we have purpose is second. So independence, purpose. teamwork, freedom, power. These are great words.
And the point I'm going to make here right now as we wrap up is money is tiny over here, meaning and getting a paycheck. These are often, as you heard the panel, these are not the #1 reasons that people get jobs, and with or without disabilities. We all love the money that comes in, but what it does for us, all these other things, is really why working is so important for whoever, for those that can and want and pursue that. So I know that we're at 11:31. I know that we're probably trying to be very respectful of your time. And you guys are kind to stay on a few extra minutes. So all of these are clickable links. And this is just a small grouping of resources in Arizona. So I hope that you guys can learn from these. I hope today was helpful. We appreciate the feedback, and we're grateful for you all, and we'll definitely keep you guys in the loop on further offerings around webinars and things that we're doing for the community. Did anyone else at the Youth Ed need to add anything at the end, or Heather or Jeff or anyone?
Yes, we do have a survey. Please provide us feedback. It helps us do more of these trainings and sessions and workshops. So I will also post a link in the chat box. There's a QR code on the screen that you can use to with your phone to take the photo, and it would with a QR code app. So taking that picture, and then it would direct you to the survey. I'll post that link right now.
And yeah, it says also, I was going to point out while Jeff's doing that if anyone wants a certificate, you can reach out to one of our staff, Lynn Tomasa, and we can, or you can reach out to any of us and we'll make sure that you get that. Absolutely. I'm glad that we could give you guys some nuggets. There's so much more to this, but we had such a brief day today. We train and educate on this anywhere. If you guys need us to come back or you need support, just call on us, or we can get you resources. It's what Sonoran You Said is all about, and we want you guys to know that we're here to support and help and meet the community's needs as they are expressed to us and come up.